some.
Go live. So let me make sure I paused that. Oh, I accidentally brought up my Discord. Ain't that that's unfortunate. I'm at the stop. I'm gonna have to turn that off, cause Discord just be bugging sometimes. They be blowing my stuff up, man. I can't get it to shut up unless I go in there and physically mute servers. But I'm in so many servers, it's unreal. Appreciate everyone for coming through, man. This is the Addict Show, where we talk about the past, future, and present of... I mixed up the order there. The past, present, and future of game. I'm here with Randolph Thor, man. The man with the million. What have you been doing, Rand?
I've been playing some games, Addict. On the Addict Show, the first time. Time you've invited me to your show.
Actually, technically, you've been on another one. But
oh, have I?
It was a long time ago. I had an Addict Show on Halo Wars once, and that was years ago. Halo.
Oh
Wars 2.
yeah. I actually remember that. That was back in what, 2018?
Yeah. What's funny is I see a lot more people doing one-on-one stuff. And I think I've been doing that for years. It's just I've never been consistent with it. You know what I'm saying?
Addict's I pioneered this.
I didn't necessarily pioneer it, but I was definitely doing it. So I don't want to hear no people Addict copying me. Nah, I ain't gonna say you copying me, but we ain't saying I'm copying you. That's not gonna roll. But so what games have you been playing, man? What game? I don't even know if you're under any kind of NDAs or anything like that.
No, all the NDAs are essentially up. I played the Psychonauts 2 preview, which, I actually quite enjoyed. I'll be talking about it more on Xbox 2 this Friday. But yeah, the Psychonauts 2 really surprised me, man. I wasn't expecting much, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's been a long time since I played Psychonauts 1. But I put about 6 hours into the preview, and I'm really looking forward to playing the final release in August.
So, we can't let you just go right by that, man. The Xbox 2, when is that going to be? What time, man? People got to see that, the Psychonauts greatness that you're going to talk about on that show. Psychonauts greatness.
Yeah, we do Xbox 2 see, the problem with Xbox 2 and me and Jez is you never know if it's going to be a Friday or a Saturday show. So usually it's Fridays around 3 p.m. Central Time, best time.
The best
no. 4 p.m. Eastern.
I'm not going to go into that because obviously we've had words. We'll just all agree that it's better than Western.
Oh, everything is always better than West Coast. West Coast. Well, actually, I don't know. Mountain Time is pretty bad too. So
I don't know. I've lived in the West Coast, for probably half my life. It's not too bad. In certain aspects, I do like the West Coast, but there are certain aspects that you're just why? You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I do get a little bit of jealous when there's release dates and they get access to it way earlier than us. You know what I'm saying? It's not that they get access to it earlier than us, but it's
I mean, they get access at the same exact
yeah,
time. It's
but
just earlier in the day
yeah,
for
it's
them.
earlier in the day. So like, I come home from like working a 12-hour shift or something. I got to decide whether or not that game's worth the little bit lack of sleep the next day. They come home, man. It's just like a regular day to them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, oh, it's what 9 o'clock there. No, it was 10. No, 9. Yeah, 9. But it is what it is, man. I think we both been playing a Death's Door. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that game?
It's one of my favorite games of this year. Honestly, like I think I beat it in like 8 hours. I enjoyed every second. I think the game's charming. I think the game's a lot of fun. I think the combat is enjoyable. The music is phenomenal. Like the level design, like the art style, like that. I started up that game not knowing what to expect. Like I had read some previews and people said the game was good, but that game just grabbed a hold of me from the first second. And I was just like, this is something special. And I was reading about it and I saw that's like a 2-person dev team. And when you see that, you're like, you can't help but be impressed by like what, 2 people essentially made this game. But dude, Death's Door, I love it. It's absolutely fantastic indie game.
What I really absolutely adore about the indie scene is when you see developers of that lower caliber. And I'm not necessarily saying like their game's low caliber, like, but the scale of their game, and you see that like a good example of like a success story for them is like the people that made Among Us. Like it was a very emotional thing for them at the video game awards. Like they were crying and everything because like I couldn't even imagine the mindset to making a game, and it does okay, but it doesn't really like catch on with anything. And then like 2 years later, when you're low key in the middle of making a sequel, and then your game just starts getting downloaded like in the millions. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't imagine what it's like to be an indie developer and have your game take off, because I'm
Yeah.
sure AAA developers, like we saw Corey Barloff, where he didn't necessarily know what the response was going to be to God of War, and he had a very emotional time when he saw the review scores. But imagine what it's like an indie developer when like you kind of like, not only are you going at it from not being a AAA developer, but you're going at it. A lot of these people are going at it, it's like this is everything I got. You know what I'm saying? Like I put a lot of time, a lot of money, like. And a lot of these places, they don't have the EAs funding them, the Microsofts, the Sony. So it's nice to see a success story in terms of indies when it does happen.
Yeah. Well, you've been playing it too, right?
Yeah, I played about 2 hours of it, 2-3 hours.
And what do you think?
I like it. There are obviously some things like I'm not particularly fond of some of the creatures, and they're not bad. It's just I felt like I saw some bats and it looks like they just colored them different colors and just slightly alter the design, and I get that. I'm not really gonna get them too hard on that because like I like the aesthetics of the game. I ain't gonna lie. At the very beginning of the game, yes, this, if you consider this a spoiler, it is what it is. It's literally the very, very beginning of the game. Did you notice that bus wasn't on anything?
Yeah, I did notice that. Where was the bus coming from?
Where was the bus? Wasn't even on nothing. It was off the map. Like,
I mean, the whole that whole Crow realm is not even on structure. It's just floating in midair.
Yeah, I guess.
What's going on with that?
I guess you do have a point there, but it's a good game. I recommend everyone. It's in Game Pass, so definitely if you guys
No, it's not in Game Pass.
Oh, it's not in Game Pass?
No, it's a $20 game.
Why is
I think
it
it's
on
on sale
Xbox?
for 16.
I bet you Kid Smooth bought it. I bet you $20 Kid Smooth bought it.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I mean that's the only way to get it because it's not on Game Pass,
well,
unfortunately.
It's not on Game Pass, but the game is definitely worth your money. Like,
it's definitely worth the money.
Yeah, go out there and spend that $20, man. You don't gotta wait for everything on Game Pass, man. You don't gotta
use
wait
Microsoft rewards if you have to.
Yeah, go on Bing, man. Go on Bing. So let's go ahead, jump straight into the show, Brand. We got Halo Infinite.
Oh God,
Obviously,
here we go. Your franchise, my franchise, right?
So we going into Halo Infinite, and I feel like it's been an up and down, up and down, up and down. I feel like
you think it's been an up and down?
Look, man, let me speak. Let me get these bars off, man. I gotta finish it. I feel like it's not so much down right now. It's kind of in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't gonna lie. A year ago from now, I had very little faith in Halo. like I remember coming out there saying don't expect much. Like, because it's just how I've been seeing it going about. But it's just like, I personally feel like, I don't know about you, we'll get to you in 1 second, but I personally feel like the way that they showed the multiplayer gave them a little bit in terms of, you know, revision. It gave it a little bit of hope, a little bit of surge in the community. Like, how do you feel like right now Halo is standing in terms of a brand?
Right, like today, I
Today.
think Halo is. I think Halo is. I think people are excited again, man. Honestly, I think there was a point where people were down on it, like significantly, in you being one of them.
Oh yeah, I was definitely.
You guys should hear an addict. He was so down on Halo.
I made a few videos
But
that was definitely
you
not
did. But after the E3 showing, after the multiplayer reveal, after the graphical overhaul, so to speak, sentiment really changed about Halo. And now with them talking about flighting and saying, "Hey, make sure you're signed up because it's coming." And they're always like, I think like people are excited again, man. They're looking forward to it. This isn't like last year where they show it off during E3 and memes are made about it, right? And you're just sitting there like, oh man, Xbox, they screwed up again. Here's Halo, and it's, oh no, look what it looks like, and right, all this stuff. And you're just like, man, I don't want to. Is 343 gonna screw it up again? It was a bad time last year.
I made a video, Rand. I got a lot of flack for it. It's called 343 versus not 343 versus Bungie, and I remember I got a lot of flack over this video because I was like, look, I was asking the community, I gave my opinions because I do personally feel like 343's made maybe not the best Halos, but the most consistent Halos. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like 343 in terms of them, because Bungie's made the most consistent Halos, and 343 I've just felt like it's always one point that I feel like they should have, but they don't got it. And I have a lot of faith in the multiplayer. I don't necessarily got faith in the single player right now. What do you feel about the single player?
The single player is where I'm most concerned about. I have all the faith in the world in 343 to make an excellent multiplayer game, and I think you do too, right?
Yeah, because they did a fantastic job Halo 5.
Yeah, and judging from how Infinite looks multiplayer wise, I think they're gonna nail it again. And with how little, I don't even say how little they've showed of the campaign, because we saw a 9-minute demo of it last year, but there is this trepidation that the it's like, okay, after 5, which the campaign wasn't very good, it's like, please nail both aspects of the game, right? And that's the big thing for me. Like, I'm a huge Master Chief fan. Like, I love Halo and I love his story. So I want the, even though I understand the multiplayer is the breadwinner, right? It's where they're gonna make all their money. It's probably the most important mode, for the success of the game, the longevity of the game. I just want there to be like single player and the multiplayer to have equal standing. Like they put the same amount of energy and thought and love and compassion into crafting, Master Chief's story to make it stand tall and to make it so you finish it and you're like, that was damn good. That is a Halo campaign. Now I'm going to go play some multiplayer instead of like, man, what a waste of time that was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I personally felt like, in terms of Halo, they're probably the last story, besides maybe Gears, because I think, I'm talking about in terms of multiplayer and single player. Like, Microsoft has a lot more in terms of keeping people satisfied, because I would say the same thing with Gears. People really care about the multiplayer, but people care about the single player probably equally just as much, and the same thing with Halo. Halo is one of the last first-person shooters where they can't just skimp and pull a Call of Duty and pull a Battlefield, where they're like, we're not doing a single player, we're doing a multiplayer, because they would get destroyed for that. So they have to make sure that both are maybe not equally as good, but they have to make both hit differently.
100%. I think you're right. I mean, could Microsoft get away with the multiplayer only Halo in this day and age?
No, they couldn't.
You don't think they could?
No. And I think the reason they couldn't is because, Call of Duty, Battlefield, they've always relied on different perspectives of the war. It's never been like a face to Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? They've been people that stood out, but there's Halo is the face of Halo. I mean, Master Chief is the face of Halo. So you can't do something unless you cannot make another Halo game unless you have some form of story orientated that's revolved around the Master Chief. Because in that case, I feel like Halo 5 would have been fine.
Right. Well, okay. Let me ask you a question. With this being a platform, right? They've talked about their desire to have Infinite last 10 years, right? Assuming we get like single player DLC, do you think within these next 10 years at 343, do you think we see another Halo game that's a spinoff? That isn't part of Halo Infinite, where it's like, hey, here's another game we're doing. It's a spinoff. It's $60. It's single player or whatever. Do you see that happening from 343, or is it literally just going to be, it's just Halo Infinite for the next 10 years, baby? Single player, multiplayer, DLC, maps, and all that stuff.
I can see them doing a spinoff, but it just depends on. I don't think 343 would do a spinoff. Maybe we would have like another, not necessarily Halo Wars scenario, but
you want a Halo Wars 3. Though.
I would love a Halo Wars 3, but I'm referring to what the majority would want. The majority don't want that type of gameplay. So, I've always felt like I've been attacked by this, and I'm pretty sure you've attacked me by this too. I've always felt like Coalition should make a third-person cover shooter Halo game that's taken place in the Halo universe. It's like you could have been Locke, you can be like one of the old Arbiters. Like there's so many different stories that they could roll with that, and I feel like you put the Coalition scenario in there. You give them access. Don't try to limit any of the gore that Coalition does, and like let it be a cover shooter that like imagine going around with like the elites, the energy sword, and then like it's kind of like the chainsaw. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always felt like Coalition could make a fantastic cover shooter in terms of Halo.
Yeah, maybe they could. I'd be interested to see what 343 does, because they have like 1,000 employees or whatever number it is, right? 750. And it's like you really need all those people for making maps and everything for Halo Infinite multiplayer or single player DLC. It almost kind of seems like they are set up to be like, okay, once we have everything rolling, we can kind of move on to another project, but still keep like Halo Infinite, because like Respawn, they do Apex Legends, right? But they also are doing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, right? And I think they even talked about another project. So like once you're rolling with that like games as a service thing and you have everything situated, maybe you can move off and start other projects that you can launch alongside, right?
I would like if they would have made this Halo Infinite not a games as a service, and it would just be a solid good campaign with a solid multiplayer, and then after that they just end the Halo franchise for like a decade.
No, end the Halo franchise. Come on.
I said for like a decade. Like
for a decade.
Yeah, like a whole generation. Because like to me,
man.
Like I think 343 loves Halo, but I think if you put that effort that they have into their own IP, I think you would get better fruit, if that makes sense to you. Like, and I'm not saying like get away with Halo at all. Do the spinoffs, but like as far as the Master Chief, the Master Chief story, I think that needs to.
How do you end the Master Chief story?
Look, I know a lot of people. Look, there's only one way that Master Chief story.
Don't you
ends.
say he's going to give his life to save the
universe?
He's
gotta die. There's no other.
He's the chief.
So he's gonna retire into the sunset. Is that what's gonna happen? Like he's gonna die similar to just how Noble Six died. Like, and that's just my opinion, because at the end of the day, like I don't realistically see them just retiring Master Chief. Like something drastic's got to kill him, and if he doesn't save himself for Cortana or something like that, I could see someone big has to kill him. But at the end of the day, who would they give that responsibility to? Like you can't just let anyone kill him. Like it's got to be someone that would make sense.
Well, what about your boy who's the leader of the Banished?
Atriox.
I mean, is he alive? Is he dead? We don't know, right? At this point,
I think he's dead. I don't know why, but I think he's dead. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of scenarios. Like, why are we talking to his general? There's no reason to talk to his general. Like, if Atriox was in charge of that annihilation, maybe he just left his general there. But if you listen to how he's referring to Atriox, it sounds like he's respecting his legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't sound like he's talking about someone that's currently alive. And it is, I thought would be cool is if somehow, because in Halo Wars 2, the hive mind, they almost rebuilt the what's the thing called again? I think hive mind. That's what it's called, isn't it?
Yeah, the grave mind.
The grave mind. They almost rebuilt one, but Atriox's people stopped it right when it happened. So I thought it would be cool is if something goes down between Halo Infinite, Halo Wars 2, and Halo Infinite, and Atriox's body ends up somehow becoming the gray mind. Like, he ends up like taking control over Atriox, and that's what's going on. And maybe he dies, and the gray mind decides to put his mind in him. You know what I'm saying? Like because Atriox, there's never been a villain like Atriox, and I'm willing to put money on that. Like, not like everywhere, but in Halo, and he's been so dominant that if he's not in Halo Infinite, something serious must have killed him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's be interesting, but I just can't. I can't picture in my head right now playing a Halo and watching Master Chief die. That's a sad moment. So I don't know. I don't want that to happen.
I don't want it to happen
because that scene where Master Chief gives up his life has to be done so perfectly, with so much emotion. Do you trust anybody to do that right?
My question to you is if they're able to do it. It would be something, because, like, to me, the only way they can end Halo for a while, like, I think they would reboot it years down the road. Maybe not necessarily reboot the whole franchise, but at least a new hero. And like, to me, something like Halo 3, how, like, you think Halo, like, Master Chief died, and they do in his funeral. It's got to be something like that, but on another level at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be one of those things where it's like, it's pending back, and it's just like, he sacrificed everything for humankind. Or, like, I thought what would be crazy is if Cortana just loses it to the point where, because obviously we think that Cortana has somehow, restructured herself or something. I don't know what's going on with this new AI, but let's say that Cortana controls that, takes over that, and she's about to do something so drastic that the only thing Master Chief can do to save the whole universe is to sacrifice himself to do it. Now, I don't, like, right now, obviously that sounds corny, you know what I'm saying? But everything can sound a certain way until it's done. If it's done right, it can be done well. And I feel like if they're able to connect those dots well enough, it would satisfy everyone. It's just that there's a couple things. How he dies. It's got to be one of those things, like, how, like, in Halo 5, he was going through those reactors in the Guardian or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It might have been Halo 4. Like, it's got to be something like that, like half the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's in a scenario where he doesn't think he's going to win, and, like, you just keep seeing damage, more and more damage, and you see him falling apart on screen. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I guess that could work, but let's be 100 here. Halo makes way too much money for Microsoft for them to put it on ice for a decade. You know what I mean? So even though, I mean, I guess it's possible Halo Infinite could end the Chief story, right? If they do DLC for single player, they could end Chief's story, but the multiplayer could keep on going forever.
Yeah, and I think that's what they would make the most money off, is the multiplayer games as a service. I always thought would be the craziest twist, Rand. This is never happening, but I thought this would be crazy. It's like in Halo Infinite, you're chasing Spartan. You there's another Spartan alive. It could be someone from from Halo Wars 2, the Spirit of Fire. You catch up to him and you find out he's not a good Spartan. Like, and then you find out that it's Noble 6 from Reach, and he was captured on the brink of death by Atriox, and he brainwashed him this whole time. And then like the whole game is chasing Noble 6. Like,
I mean, yeah, that would be that'd be definitely something. But
obviously
we just got to get through Halo Infinite first.
Yeah,
you know? It's got to come out. It's got to be good. I mean, it's got to be great, right? Single player's got to be fire. It's got to be a great co-op campaign. With it's got to be a complete story too. Like I want a complete beginning, middle,
I don't
and
think
end.
you're gonna get that. Like
I think we'll get an end. I just also
think you'll get segments of an end. Like I think right now you're gonna get the segment of the Banished. You're gonna get, you know.
Yeah. I'd say they'll probably finish like the Banished thing, but then maybe in a couple years we get the the next campaign that features him going after Cortana or something. But no, I'm much more excited for Halo Infinite than I was a year ago. A year ago, I was like, I don't know, Attic. The way the game looked, that it's supposed to come out this holiday with the system, I think it's coming in real hot.
Yeah, and what's funny is, like, I said on multiple ILPs, I was like, I hope, and I was thinking, I was like, Microsoft, this is going to be a sacrificial lamb. Like, I kept thinking that, and I was like, I hope they don't do it. I was like, I hope they delay it like they need to. And I didn't think they were going to, Rand. I thought that Halo being with the console, to me, felt like it might have been more important to them than Halo being good, if that makes sense to you. Like, and I'm glad they delayed it. They realized, like, look, it might be pretty rough for 6 months to a year, but it's better if this game goes back in the oven, so when it does come out, it's got legs.
Yeah, and it was also, we were worried there for a bit that maybe they'd launch multiplayer first, campaign 6 months later, but they decided to launch them both as a singular product, which is the right move. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Like, old Xbox would have launched Halo Infinite last year.
They would have.
They would have been like, all right, whatever, we need this game. We need it to come out. We don't really care. We'll fix it as it goes. And it would have launched, and it would have, reviewed horribly. And, they would have been on their heels, making up like excuses for why they released it and why they didn't delay it. But we're in a different era now. We're in an era that, like, hey, the Coalition is taking some time away from Gears, right? Like, they're the workhorse of Xbox game studios.
I feel like they carried the whole Xbox One generation on their back.
I mean, they basically did, and now they're like, yeah, we're gonna take some time, maybe even do a new IP beforehand, small project, get used to Unreal, but like. Xbox last gen, they would have been like, no, we need Gears 6 3 years after Gears 5. Because you know what I mean? Like, there is no, oh, we need extra time. Everwild, right? We heard recently that it was rebooted. Old Xbox would have been like, that thing's coming out. Or, you're canceled, instead of like, taking it back to the drawing board. So we're at a different time for Xbox, mainly because, like, there's a lot more goodwill. There's Game Pass. There's all these different studios with all these different games, which Xbox didn't have. So it gives teams more of a time to polish a product and get everything done, instead of like reaching we need this game out now.
I think that's what it is the most. Like, look, like, especially now that they have Bethesda, it's like when someone comes up there, especially the caliber of like Halo or something, they're like, oh, you need 6 months, you need a year. It's like, that might cost us money. But I don't think that they've pushed these games out in the past because it costs them money. I don't, obviously that's something they don't want to do. I think they've pushed these games out because they realistically needed them in that holiday. And, obviously the money means a lot. Obviously no one wants to run a company at a loss, but at the end of the day, no one wants to put a brand out there without any kind of flagship title to sell in the holiday. So when you don't have that game, and only games coming out is like Halo 5, and then they come up to there like, look, we need 6 more months. Well, you're the only game we coming out this holiday. We can't afford that. So you're going to have to go in there. But now it's not like that. They go up to there like, Halo 5, only one we got. Well, Halo Infinite. Let's say, they need more time for an expansion. They're all right, we got Avowed coming out. We got Fable coming out. Like, we might go an extra month without something. And then I've always said, and I think it's fair to say, Rand, that once they get this engine go up and running, I've always felt like they're going to have to push stuff back intentionally because they don't want it too close to other titles. Like for instance, let's say that, you know, because I've been told the Outer Worlds 2 is actually a little bit more development than people think, and you know people think that's going to come out in like 2024. I've been told that's not the case. Like it's supposed to be like the end of 2023.
So they're launching Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 in 2023.
You know, at the end of the day, it might get pushed back to the beginning of 2024. But I think a lot of people are just assuming it's like the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. And it doesn't look like that's the case. Now, let's say that doesn't happen. Then where's Fable? Where's Perfect Dark? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're around that area where these games are supposed to coming out. Are they just going to start launching one a month? Like, I don't think they're going to do that. Let's say, I mean, we always be talking about the old stuff. I mean, the new stuff, the new studios they bought, Bethesda. We're not even talking about none of their games. Like, what happens when they're like, yo, Gear 6 is done? Well, we got like 3 games coming out in the holiday. Like, we're going to have to push that to like March. Like,
yeah, I mean, you know, I also think it's going to be important for Xbox to, one of the things I've always had a problem with Xbox's releases, Addict, is they always backload everything to the holidays.
They do. I think the amount of studios they have now, I think we might see a little bit less of that now.
With Game Pass, you need to have stuff at the beginning of the year and middle, like you need to have something in February or March. You need to have something in, you know, May or June. This isn't like I don't think it's you can hold everything to just the last 3 months of the year anymore.
You can't.
Like, you constantly need stuff. So if, like, sure, like you talk about, like Outer Worlds 2, maybe it's end of 2023, but it might be just best for Microsoft to be like, no, let's just delay it a couple months and have it come out in February of 2024. So we got a game at the beginning of the year. You know what I mean?
And then what's crazy is, like, we're not even talking about Bethesda. By then, Arcane's probably going to be ready back up because they're a well-oiled machine. Like, they probably already have an idea of what they want to do next. Let's say they go back, they revisit Dishonored. Like by then they're probably going to be ready to go. Are they going to start launching that? Are they going to launch multiple games in the same month? Like sure, they have what 20? How many teams they got these days?
Well, I mean, they have 23 studios,
but they have
they have over
many
like
teams.
35 teams, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, and they got that many teams, and you know, not all of them are making AAA kind of products, and
no,
I don't think
making smaller ones.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone expects them to make that kind of thing. But let me get this super chat real quick. We got a $25 super chat from Optimus Code, Gaming from the Inside Out. That is a weird name, Optimus Code. I'm gonna have to give you that one, man.
Is that the Optimus Code?
That's the Optimus Code.
Optimus Code.
The Optimus Code, man. This dude. Look, man, for anyone in this chat that don't like Optimus Code, that's not Optimus Code. I'm going to call him out right now. That is a persona that he puts on. You know the persona from Persona? Like, that's him. Like, he got the mask on. Like, he be jumping in these Twitter streets and he be robbing people of their emotions. Like, if you see something Optimus Code posts that you don't like, just scroll down. I guarantee you, commenting on it, like quote tweeting it, you're just feeding him. Just scroll down.
What's his comment? What's his super
Well,
chat?
I was about to say. He said, mad respect to Gaming Addict for being consistent and keeping it 100. Respect. Got respect to Rand, too. Good stuff so far, y'all. Don't mess it up. And it's like I said, Optimus Code's a good dude. He just sometimes, I feel like he go a little too much. Sometimes he just go a little too No, not a little, but you go a lot too much sometimes, Optimus Code. Like, but it is what it is, man. I've always felt the need when it comes to like the trolling and stuff. I don't like it. It's not for me, but I ain't gonna tell somebody else they can't troll people. I'm just not gonna be participating in that. But we're gonna move on with that, man. You know, let's just brief thing real quick. What is your expectations personally for Halo Infinite this holiday?
Like, what are you looking for, a Metacritic score?
We'll give a Metacritic score too. Metacritic score and how you think it's generally going to be perceived by everyone, regardless of the Metacritic score.
Well, I think it's going to be received well. Like, I'm thinking, if I had to guess right now, 86, 87, 88. Right around in that range. I don't think it'll get in the 90s. I also don't think it's going to be low 80s. I think they're going to absolutely nail the multiplayer. But I guess how high it's going to be rated is going to depend on how awesome the campaign is, or how not awesome the campaign is, right? A
I would
lot of
agree.
people, a lot of reviewers want the story. They want to
And,
connect with the
and,
chief.
and I have a feeling a lot of reviewers aren't going to even play the multiplayer like that. Like,
Yeah,
they're
but I
going to
mean,
play that single player. They're going to open up the servers. They're going to play that for a little bit,
well,
and
you
then
know,
that's as far as that goes.
since the last time a Halo game came out in 2015, reviews has sort of changed. A lot of outlets now do review and progress, right? Like,
Yeah.
nobody was doing review and progresses back in 2015. A lot of outlets even do multiple, like they'll do a review for the campaign separately, and then a review for the multiplayer separately, and then like an overall review. So that's changed since 2015. I think a lot of people honestly miss Halo. I think the 5 year gap has actually um, has kind of given people a time to miss Master Chief, and that's kind of what I was thought was sort of what they needed to do with Gears, because Gears has been releasing like every 3 years. Like they give you no time to miss anybody on Sarah or any of the characters because it's constant. It's like since 2006 when we think about it, right? Gears 1, 2006, Gears 2, 2008, Gears 3, 2011, Gears Judgment, 2013, Gears Ultimate, 2014, Gears was it 2014 for Gears Ultimate? Yeah, and then like 2015 for Gears Ultimate, 2016 for Gears 4, 2019 for Gears 5, right? And then Gears Tactics 2020. You know, if Xbox was following that path, we'd have Gears 6 next year, 2022, right? But they don't give you a chance to miss anything.
I
But
agree with you there.
with the 5 year gap from Halo, like I think people really do miss the franchise, and I think people miss Master Chief. So if 343 can come together after the year delay, polish it up, multiplayer's fire, single player is actually really good. I think you can. It'll be reflected in the reviews. Like I said, I personally expect like an 86 to an 88. But you know, it could climb into the 90s depending on how great the campaign is. I think, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. So I put a poll in there in that chat, man. What is Halo Infinite score going to be? 70s, 80s, or 90s? Feel free to go over there and vote for that if you guys want to. But you know,
What do you think, Attic? What do you think?
86.
Because your thoughts have kind of shifted immensely.
86.
You think it's an 86?
86.
You think that's what's going to get?
86.
86 would be a great score.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't know. See, the wild card is that single player, and if that single player ends up being very well done, and sure they can leave certain mysteries like where's Cortana. I think this is how they're going to do the single player. I think they're going to have a focus on this, kind of like how Destiny does it, but hopefully does it better. And they're going to like, this is what we're doing for the vanilla campaign of Halo Infinite. They're going to have a villain. They're going to have a beginning, middle, and end. It's just how well they do that beginning, middle, and end. And I think at the end, after you've concluded that version of the story, what's going to happen is they're going to have like some in-game cutscene that's going to introduce what the next story is going to be, and it will probably launch a couple months later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, I hope it, man, because besides Fable, this franchise means a lot to me, and I just don't want them to mess up, man. I feel like 343, they could use the break. Like,
right. When do you think it's coming out? You know, we don't know. They say holiday 2021. If you had to bet right now, when do you think it's releasing? Or do you think it's getting delayed to next year?
I don't think it's getting delayed. I used to be on that, but I've been told multiple times that I need to calm the fuck. I need to calm down. I can't cuss.
You can't swear on here, man. It's your own show, and you're not allowed to swear.
Yeah, it is what it is. So I think that September, early October.
See, I was riding the September train too because I thought it made too much sense. Like you have Battlefield in October and Halo and Call of Duty in November, and I was like, oh man, September would be such a great spot. There's like really nothing coming out that month. But I don't know. The more I think about it, with the way they talk holiday 2021 and the fact that they haven't started flighting yet, right? And I think flighting is going to start in August. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not 100%, but I feel confident that the flighting is going to start next month. I think if you started flighting in August and released in September, it probably, I don't think, I just don't see that. So I think what's happening right now is they don't know when Call of Duty is hitting.
Yeah. And
And Halo is in that position where they're like, okay, we need to be a good platform for our third parties. It's obviously not good enough, not great to launch Halo and COD the same week or even the week after each other. And we need to make sure that 343 is all the time in the world. We don't want to stick to a date. So I'm starting to think holiday 2021 means end of November or early December is what I'm thinking.
Because I used to be on the train. There's no way Microsoft doesn't know third party release dates, and what I was told is they know, but they don't know. Like they know outdated information, but the problem is it could change at any time. So they never make any kind of decisions based on what they don't know 100% of. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't want to come out there, and it's just like, it's just like Phil Spencer said. I don't want to delay this game even a week. Like I want.
Yeah, but he did say there was a 3 to 4 week window that they know when the game's coming. And you said October, but October's too packed. Like October's got Far Cry, which they're co-marketing, right? They have Back for Blood, which is in Game Pass Day 1 the next week. They got Battlefield 2042, which they're co-marketing. Like there's no spot for them to launch it in October, right? So end of like November. The problem is like Forza Horizon is also early November. And then hey, you would imagine Call of Duty is like the 15th. So I don't know. Like I'm thinking like Halo's like end of November, maybe the week of Black Friday.
That would be cool.
Something like around that time. And if they absolutely need it, they could delay it to like early December.
So Optimus Code again said he's got $10 super instant. Can you please give your personal review scores for the Halo Infinite campaign and your separate review code for the multiplayer? I'd appreciate it. Do you want to go or I'll go first?
What do I think the multiplayer is going to get?
Yeah, I
think the multiplayer is going to get a 9. I think the multiplayer is going to be really good. Even if I do wish it had a battle royale mode. The single player, I don't know. I think the single player is probably going to be like 7.5, 8. I don't know. I just expect the multiplayer to be the more complete part of the package. I mean, I don't know. From the stuff I've heard, the campaign was one of the things that was kind of the holdup. Multiplayer is kind of the one that's always sort of been ready or close enough, right?
I actually have a conspiracy. If like this gets pushed back, I think that the way they would do it is they would make like a 3 or 4 month, probably a 3-month a 3-month beta for the multiplayer, and then ironically when the single player drops, it's going to be both of them dropping, but it's technically being beta. It's going to be delayed. The beta is going to run up to like a week or two before the game comes out, and I think they would get flack, but I think that's the best solution they would have if they did need to delay this game.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, we'll have to see. I got faith that the what I've been told is it's coming out this year. We'll just have to see. But let's talk about Xbox old titles and whether or not you feel like they need to be rehashed. Obviously, me and Colt Eastwood, we go at it over and over again about whether or not Banjo-Kazooie needs to come back. Let me go ahead and read the super chat real quick. We got a $2 super chat from King Perel. I butchered it. We're going to move past that. Will Microsoft fix the features with the share button? They've been saying that for a minute. I don't think they are. I think they might get to it eventually, but I think that's nowhere near their priority. But yeah, and Rand said no too.
No, I don't think that. I think what you have now is what you get.
Yeah, and it's just like, to me, when it comes to the older stuff, I feel like they have such a variety of old titles. And I want one game. If you had the choice, Phil Spencer came down, he sat beside you, he's like, Randolph Thor. What
that
is
already
a
did
game?
happen, by the way.
Okay, we're gonna act like that didn't happen.
You want to know what I said to Phil back in 2015?
What did you say?
When I met him for the first time, he asked me what game out of all the games that they could do, what game would I greenlit? Like if I had my choice. And you know what I told him? Mm-hmm. He's like, you can use anything, and I'm like, and And you're gonna laugh because, well, maybe not, but like I said, Phil, I need Alan Wake 2. And that was at the time Microsoft still held like the publishing rights for Alan Wake.
Yeah,
I'm
they
like, I
had.
need you to go make a new Alan Wake game with Remedy. That was what I said. I know they don't. I know Microsoft doesn't own the IP. But if we're talking about ones that own the IP, I honestly like I'm not that big of a. I'm not that big of like one of those people that is like constantly like, oh, we have all these great old Microsoft IPs like Fusion Frenzy and Shadowrun and all this stuff and Project Gotham Racing. Like I would probably say I really like Project Gotham Racing, but there's no need for it considering we have Forza Horizon. So I'm just gonna go the tried and true because I actually liked it. I want another Killer Instinct game.
Killer Instinct.
I
Okay.
want another Killer Instinct because I really did like it. But other than that, maybe another Viva Pinata because I actually did enjoy Viva Pinata. But I don't really have a strong attachment to a lot of the older Microsoft IPs that everybody seems to have. Like you really want a new Banjo Kazooie. Not only you, but like everybody seems bring Banjo back,
I
bring Conquer back, or some of the older
I
rare
don't
IPs. You know.
I don't really care about Conquer. I've never really cared about Conquer. I do care about Fusion Frenzy. I think, you know, not necessarily that Microsoft needs a party game. I think it would be very beneficial to them, especially something like Game Pass. Like you have a games as a service party game that screams Game Pass. Like you kind of like how Fall Guys does it, to where like you update the costumes. Like I feel like scenarios like that could really give people reason to subscribe to Game Pass, and not just for that. People will subscribe to Game Pass for a variety of different reasons, not one or the other. But I do feel like you get some good courses in there. You really put money behind it because that's the only way you're going to get a quality one. And then I honestly feel like that would be a huge hit. You know, they can do something that Mario Party can't do for up to right now, because I know there's about to have the first Mario Party really have like a lot of online features. And like to me, if you come out there and you have a lot of good online features and you do what Nintendo refuses to do, you can captivate that audience. Especially have an X Cloud where you have access to more areas. You have Game Pass. You have Xbox Series S and X. You have the cheaper way of getting into the into the ecosystem with Game Pass. That Fusion Frenzy, a good Fusion Frenzy. I'm not talking about one that they hand to anyone and say make it. A good Fusion Frenzy, I feel like would be one of the biggest success rates they could possibly have.
Who do you would make that game?
I have no idea.
Would it be an internal
whatsoever.
studio?
It would be an external.
Studio?
It would be an external. I don't think I couldn't tell. Like obviously, I don't know. Let's point out right now, these studios, they can make pretty much anything they want to a point, as long as they hire some external help to push the studio in the direction they need to go. Because a lot of these developers have worked on multiple type of games, but I would personally want a studio that focuses on stuff like this. There's a game on PC. It's called like Plummetal. Hold up, you're probably gonna see my Steam stuff pop up on the screen. I apologize for that because I want to see what this game's called. Because this studio, it didn't pop up on the screen. That's cool. This studio, they make it starts with a P. Plummetal Party. It's this game right here. I'll put it up on the screen. And I feel like this game is definitely, it's kind of like what I would like for them to do, but you could tell it's a very low budgeted one. And I feel like that developer, they could probably take that concept if Microsoft would feed them the correct amount of money and the flow and some new talent and make something worthwhile. As much as everyone hates Banjo-Kazooie, Ryan, I honestly feel like Banjo-Kazooie is their Ratchet and Clank if they actually spend the money and the time to do it. Who would do it? I don't know. I feel like everyone at Rare, there's no way no one wants to make a Banjo-Kazooie. The higher-ups at Rare don't want to make a Banjo-Kazooie. I feel like there's plenty of people that are thriving for their own project that's up there in the ranks that haven't gotten that opportunity yet. Like, give one of them, it takes some people, like, get a team of 20, 30, 40 people and go make Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know. I get it. But I'm just like, to me, Rand, there's no reason why we can't have a Banjo-Kazooie. There's just none.
Yeah, you would think they would have one in production by now. Like they had the crossover with Super Smash, right, or Smash Brothers. Phil's talked about family friendly content, but like really realistically, when you look at the games that they're building and the games that they have announced, they're definitely not much that I would call family friendly. Yeah, it's just I don't know if like that maybe they have somebody working on it, but it's just not ready to show. But out of all the games that they could do, I've always thought Banjo Kazooie is a slam dunk to come back. You don't even have to make a new Banjo Kazooie. You could just remaster the first one,
Mm-hmm.
like not remaster, like remake the first one.
Yeah, build it in a completely new engine.
You don't even have to like build Banjo Kazooie 4 or 3 or whatever one. Well, do people consider Banjo Nuts and Bolts Banjo 3, or is that?
I don't think they technically is that technically Banjo 3, yes, but I don't think people consider it Banjo 3. And for the most part, you know, I played a little bit of it, not a whole lot, but you know, I didn't like it that much. You know, I loved Banjo Kazooie. And you know what's funny, Rand? I know you're gonna give me a lot of shit for this next sentence.
Oh, geez, here we go.
I have played Banjo Kazooie like 15 times. I've played Banjo Tooie. I've never beat none of them.
Jeez, why don't you beat them? What's going on?
Well, every time I get into it, like something comes up. I remember I had it for the 360. I'm on like the 5th or 6th stage right now. But like, I guess when I get to the parts of the game that, because I'm in a graveyard stage on Banjo-Kazooie, every time I get to parts of the game that I've never done multiple times, I always get like mad stuck. Like, I don't know what it is. I need to go back and I need to actually sit down and actually play it. But I might stream that whole game. I might stream that whole game because I love it, man. I enjoy it. And maybe it's because it's a little outdated. Not even much. Like, Banjo-Kazooie's kind of evolved decently. Like, it's aged okay. Like, it's not aged like horribly. But, you know, it is what it is. Is there any other game that you would see come back?
You know what I do want to come back? 1 versus 100.
Oh, I saw someone in
or some variation of that. That is something I could get behind because I really do like that. But like I said, I don't really have a lot of nostalgia for the old Microsoft and Rare IPs. I want Killer Instinct to come back. I really do think it deserves it. I'd be down for a 1 versus 100 multiplayer style game. If I had it like Project Gotham Racing, but we don't need it because Forza Horizon. I wanted Microsoft to do Alan Wake 2, but you know, seems like they're doing it with Epic, so I'm gonna get what I want anyways, right? I would have said Sunset Overdrive 2, but you know, well, these aren't older games. I guess it's like they don't fall into that category, so it would be Killer Instinct for me, and 1 versus 100.
Killer Instinct definitely is it's definitely a good thing, and I think Killer Instinct. Now there is a lot of rumor going around that they might be looking into purchase NetherRealm. I don't know if that's true. We don't have to really go into that because we butchered the shit out of that topic. But I've always felt like with Sony buying Evo, and it looks like they might be searching for another studio that makes those type of games. If Microsoft don't buy NetherRealm, they're never going to have even remotely a chance to get into that genre ever again.
I would say if Sony bought NetherRealm, then the fighting game genre on Xbox is just gone. So I always viewed NetherRealm as more of a defensive measure. Like if they were for sale, you would buy them because you can't let them go to Sony simply because then you would have no fighting games. And I don't know about you. Let me ask you this. Hypothetical situation, okay? Completely hypothetical. Microsoft buys NetherRealm, buys the Mortal Kombat IP off of them, right? Mortal Kombat IP, one of the biggest IPs in gaming, right? Do you then turn to NetherRealm and Ed Boon and say, you know, we just spent all this money for you. We got you the Mortal Kombat IP, but can you make us a Killer Instinct game? Doesn't that make no sense whatsoever?
Here's how I would do it. I feel like it's kind of like the Injustice Mortal Kombat thing. the first thing I would do, and I'm not a fighter. Anyone in the chat that does fighting stuff, educate me. I don't know shit about this genre. I would do a Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat first.
Yeah, you probably could do that.
And then, you know, you really build the brand. And then, and who knows, Microsoft, you know, since they don't really have a whole lot into the fighting thing, maybe that's a studio that you would want to really invest into and have two teams, one making Killer Instinct and one making Mortal Kombat. And then after they both make their respective games, they both come together and make a Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think that would be a lot of money going out, but I do think that would solve a lot of the issues with fighters. They would literally own Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct. And what I've been told, Killer Instinct's was one of the most popular fighters when it was at its height. So I mean, I don't know. I don't do fighters, man. I don't do that stuff. But you know, I really feel like the studio just makes sense. Microsoft, you need a Killer Instinct game. You have too many people wanting to play this damn game. I want K Mega off my back. Buy it. Let them make it, man. I'm sure you've been asked multiple times that are they going to do Killer Instinct, man? What are they doing with Mortal Kombat?
I mean, yeah, and we've always said exactly what Phil said even before. Like, they want to do one, but they just don't have anybody to make it. You know, so I mean, it's just the way it is now. That maybe they mean like, hey, we haven't seen a pitch we haven't liked. All these studios are just busy, and we don't have one internally. But, you know, maybe one of them, you know, like is like, hey, you know, we got time. What do you think of this pitch? And you know, maybe they like it. But I don't know. Like, I want it to come back. I guess there's probably a better realistic chance of Banjo coming back than maybe Killer Instinct. But who knows? Maybe neither of them come back. Maybe they don't delve back into well, they just delved back into the thing for Perfect Dark, didn't they? So
yeah. And I think Perfect Dark, I've been told it's a first person, isn't it?
Yeah, it's first person.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with that. I felt like that would have been a good third person thing, but wasn't the original game's first person? So I guess that would technically make sense.
It was like first person, and then when you took cover, it was third.
I mean, that might be the case too. I don't think we've really seen enough gameplay to really justify that. I just felt like that there's a lot of scenarios and a lot of things that Microsoft can do, like the 1 versus 100. You know, imagine you do like game nights where it's like all about Halo. You know what I'm saying? Like Halo questions, or all about Microsoft first person questions. Remember the attempt that Microsoft made on the Fan Fest to have like a 1 versus 100 scenario that completely bombed and blew up in their face.
The what?
The question, the Q&A thing that they did for that Fan Fest, where people had to answer it in a certain amount of time, and then it kept crashing.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was so fun. Like, but obviously, you know, they had a third party app do it, and you know they weren't prepared for the amount of traffic they got, so it didn't really done. They did it since, and I felt like take that formula, make it into a game, and put it on Xbox 1 versus 100.
Yeah.
But you know, hopefully we'll see. I do feel like Microsoft is making a lot of moves behind closed doors, but we don't know until we actually know. But you know, so out of all the games we said, yours 100% is Killer Instinct. That's who you want, right?
Yep. Yeah, that'd be number one. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next topic, Ran. I was told this will never happen again. You know, so Xbox got a little W in forms of the you know the NPDs. And for those of you that don't know the NPDs, it is a you know, pretty much Mexico, Canada, and the United States, all of the sales combined. That's what the NPDs are. And we got a $10 super chat from Slow Mo Backslap. I ain't even read this, and I know it's going to be on some dumb stuff because he always coming at me. But we're going to read it and see if I'm right. Although I didn't get into this one back. Okay, so maybe it wasn't. I apologize, Slow Mo. I'm going to continue reading. But what if they did a Crimson Skies remake as an expansion to Microsoft Flight Simulator and then a standalone sequel to Crimson Skies? That'd be interesting. The people who, Asbo, or whatever the hell their name is.
Asobo?
Asobo, yeah. Like, I think that's a very solid studio they might buy. But I think that would be interesting if they did that. Like, kind of like...
they just did put Crimson Skies in Game Pass. So does that mean something? Maybe not. You know, people always like, does it mean something? Yeah, I mean, Slow-Mo's not the first person to ask for a Crimson Skies remake, reboot. It definitely would be interesting in this day and age. The multiplayer for it back on the OG was pretty damn good. But you don't see those a lot of these type Crimson Skies type games anymore. Really, it's just like, what is the only like flying game outside of Microsoft Flight Sim that is any sort of like action is like what the Ace Combat series, I think. There's not that many of them.
There really isn't. And if you think about it, like Microsoft could really lock that genre down. Like I've always stated, look, PlayStation has the better games quality wise. There's no denying that. I think that you'll start to see that scale come a little bit more center. Maybe not necessarily in the pure quality, but I think Microsoft might have more really good games than Sony has quality games. Does that make sense to you?
Okay,
So
yeah.
I think that might scale it out a little bit, but you know, as far as when it comes to stuff like that, all that we can ask for is they just spend their money wisely. Because I feel like Microsoft, they're throwing a lot of money out there, but we've seen it ran throughout the years. Sooner or later, they're gonna want this money back. Like, and I don't want them making the whole so astronomical that it's impossible to realistically get the quotas that they need. But obviously, there's people at Microsoft that clearly see we need to reinvest again because they keep reinvesting. You know, and I'm excited to see it. But anyway, you derailed the podcast just a little bit, Slow-Mo, but that was a good conversation. But we're going back to the smoke. Xbox One and NPD, and I think it was in the terms of the cost amount, maybe not necessarily
It was
units.
dollar figures.
So, did PlayStation sell more, or was that just the Switch that sold more?
Switch sold more, sold more units, but Xbox made the most money out of all of them.
They didn't give any type of if Xbox outsold PlayStation. They didn't give that knowledge, right?
I don't know.
But anyway, King's a big thing right now is it doesn't matter how much you push it out. If we make more money, we win. Like, I don't know if you saw last ILP, but
I did. Of course, ILP's one of the mainstays. One of the first podcasts I listen to every single week. You know, I just gotta wait for them timestamps.
Oh, I agree. You gotta wait.
I don't want to listen to King talk about boxing and stuff. You know what I mean?
I'd be trying to tell them, look, man, you're preaching to the choir. I have went to bat with these people over the sports talk, but every single time they got good comebacks. I can't really fight it. Like, I can't realistically, you know, it would be different if it was like 30, 40 minutes, but most of the time keep me talking for 3, 4, 5 minutes, then it's over. Like, you know, there's occasions where he goes a little bit too extra and talk like 10, 15 minutes, but for the most part, King keeps it simple, keeps it straight, and we keep it moving. And you know, I appreciate that because I don't know, you've seen me every time combat talk comes up. That's when I go get something to drink, go get something to eat. Like, I just don't care about it. It's not necessarily their fault. It's like when I talk about anime, I'm sure they don't care about that either. Besides King loves anime. But, you know, as far as what's going on with NPDs, and I don't want to necessarily center around that they won the NPDs because it's just 1 month. We can't sit here and act like the tide's changing. You know what I'm saying? But it is interesting that they won this particular month because that's when Ratchet and Clank was at its height, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, you could say so both consoles had stocks are going through stock shortages, right? You can't really get an Xbox, you can't really get a PlayStation. But you are right though. No, most people said this would never happen. You know,
Ever.
once the PS5 is gonna launch, Xbox doesn't stand a chance. It's never gonna beat it again. And then here comes month of June, and it sold more. Now I think there's a couple reasons for it. Microsoft timed a great stock, restock to E3, right? Because remember, right after E3, there was a whole bunch of consoles you could buy.
There was a lot.
And I do believe the reception to E3 had a lot to do with it. I think people, and I've even seen PlayStation guys finally pick up an Xbox.
It was a good E3. It was a great.
It was a great E3. You saw a lot of mainstream coverage. People seemed really excited about the future. and they're like, okay, I'm gonna get an Xbox, and there was some available. Now you even factor in, Microsoft has been kind of shifting some Series X chips to put into XCloud, so those can run better. So they're not putting everything into the channels, and it's kind of funny because you mentioned Xbox did this, or even with PlayStation launching a big exclusive of the year, maybe their biggest with
And
Ratchet and
not to
Clank.
mention, Returnal came out what 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. Like,
Yeah.
so it's they're coming off a couple launches. So it's interesting that Microsoft with no games. And let's be realistic, they got games, but they got nothing from their first party yet. And
Well, as I say, like Xbox hasn't released an exclusive game. I mean, since the Medium in January, which is now no longer exclusive, or Gears Tactics in November, so they haven't. As people would say, Xbox, had no games, and they didn't have any games in June, and they won. So, I think it just more speaks to um, people's reactions to E3 and how good the future looks, how incredible Game Pass is. That a lot of people that were riding the fence decided to take the plunge, and I think you're going to see. I think there's a lot more interest in Xbox Series than there ever really was for Xbox One, and I think it's going to continue. Like not every month. I'm not saying they're going to win every single month, but and they may never win another month again. But um, you know, I think Xbox is going to do just fine. I don't know. It's tough.
I don't think this is a fluke. I think they might not win next month, but I think that if anything, it shows they pretty much sold these consoles off of Game Pass, and I think that's what it is. I think if we've known throughout the years before Game Pass subscription services in general came up, it was us selling these games to our friends in the party, was it not? Yeah, let's play this, man. Let's get this $60. Oh, $60. Well, what's an easy thing when let's play what's a good game that's a multiplayer game on? I mean, let's just say Gears 5. Someone just randomly came into the ecosystem. Man, I don't want to pay for no game. I just got the console. You don't got to, man. Get that Game Pass. Like, and then when you're talking, like, imagine that's in a party, right? Imagine when family members are talking to each other, like that stuff spreads. And the crazy part is they're doing this without that machine that they've been building for the past couple years. Imagine when that comes out. Obviously, these games got to come out and be good. We can't say that they can go off straight of Game Pass with no good games. But if we've seen just from them winning this NPD off of the hype from E3, which was pretty much dedicated to what? Game Pass. I think it's safe to assume that when these games start coming out, you're going to see this more often.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this holiday. I think if you have stock available and you have, the third parties launching, but then you have Forza coming out and you have Halo coming out, I think people will want to take the plunge because they've seen the plan. They've seen the future. They know what Game Pass is. They know Microsoft has all these games coming. So I think it's just I don't know if it's going to continue every single month because honestly, PlayStation is, I think, the more in-demand console for sure. I mean, clearly, I think that's the case. But with the stock shortages happening, it could any month could be the month. It's just a matter of who delivered more stock to the U.S. than the other one. And think about it like this. I said this I think in my video, but it's harder for Microsoft to win a dollar sales comparison because they have a console at 500 and a console at 300, while PlayStation has a console at 500 and a console at 400. So the more Series S's that Microsoft sells puts them in a lower position to win a dollar sales sort of comparison because the Series S is so cheap,
and it's $100 cheaper than the digital.
Yeah,
but I mean, we can be real. I don't think that even the digital PS5, I don't think they're making a lot of those either.
They're probably losing a ton of money on that.
Yeah, so I think they're underprint.
And that's the one I own.
Those.
I bought that one.
I bought mine off Kid Smooth. It's the physical one. What's funny is he got a digital one off BG, and he was trying to get me to switch them. And I was like, dude, I'll switch you because I don't care. Like, I'll take the digital. I was like, but you're paying the shipping for both. Like, I'm not gonna no. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it because I guess he just wants the option for physical. You know what I'm saying?
I don't care. I don't. I haven't owned a physical game since Titanfall. So all my games on the Xbox, all my games on PlayStation are 100% digital. Physical is dead to me. Ew, physical? Who does physical anymore in this day and age? Plus, you game share, so
Yeah, I
you're like
game share.
me. You basically can get any new release for half price.
And then sometimes I just hold out and Kid Smooth buys it first.
Like seriously, like Ratchet and Clank came out and it was my turn to buy the game, so I bought it, right? But it was 70. But my buddy had bought Returnal, so like I got Returnal and Ratchet and Clank for $70. You know what I mean?
Or you
So
got
it's like, why wouldn't you get digital? You know, unless you don't have any friends, I suppose.
I'm sure there's a lot of people like that. I think we're gonna see more, especially when you start seeing Avowed pop out, Fable pop out, Halo Infinite's gonna be a big time where you see consoles, and that's crazy. This isn't even a time where like a big popular game's coming out. Like I'm sure that we're gonna see another surge when Halo comes out. So the crazy part is like when you brought up earlier when you were talking about whether or not that they intentionally released that stock. I think all they really did is instead of releasing the stock like throughout the month, they released it all at once. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't think that Microsoft and Sony have like a huge difference in consoles right now. I think they're both struggling to get as many as they possibly can. Because a lot of people are trying to say that the only reason they won NPDs is because Microsoft just had more units to sell. So it's just like I don't get that because they're both always sold out. Unless you
Yeah.
go to like these weird websites that have one that you're kind of like, should I risk $500 for this play Xbox?
No, you're right. I mean, it's all about who probably sends more, but Xbox is also using a lot of those chips for XCloud as well, so it's not exactly a one-to-one comparison. But it's not. It's nice to see. It's nice to see all three console manufacturers actually top of their game. Nobody screwed up because you usually think about it. Usually a generation, one of them always screws up.
They're all
Xbox,
doing pretty
last
good.
gen, the Xbox screwed up. The gen before, the Wii U was a complete disaster. PS3 basically almost destroyed PlayStation. Like it always does seem one of the console manufacturers somehow trips over their own feet and face plants. And for the first time in a long time, here you have it. Like all three seem to be doing well. Everybody loves the Switch. It's always sold out. Even though I won't get in my Nintendo slander right now. Addict knows how I feel about Nintendo, but you can't deny that people love it, and people are constantly buying Nintendo software, Nintendo hardware. PlayStation 5 is the fastest selling console ever in the first 8 months of launch, right? It's selling better than the PS4 at the same time, and PS4 was $100 cheaper. PS5 is doing this at $500, so you can even make the argument that this is more impressive because it's $100 more expensive. It just goes to show you how enamored consumers and customers were with the PS4 gen, that they're like, you know what, we'll upgrade to the PS5 for $100 more and do it faster than we did for the PS4. And then you have Xbox coming off of what was arguably a absolutely horrible generation. The only thing that they really have in their back pocket was Game Pass, right? And that really took quite some time to kind of lift off. I mean, now, who knows what the numbers will be at the end of the year, but there's talk maybe it'll be at like 30 million. And it definitely seemed like Microsoft turned it around. So it's nice to see like all three doing incredibly well.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, competition's better for everyone. I'm hoping that this Steam Deck thing comes out and does well, so that pushes Nintendo to try to improve that. Because I don't think the only thing going to press Nintendo is something that's trying to do what Nintendo does and does it well. If this thing comes out and it's a horrible flop and it doesn't sell too many units, Nintendo's just going to keep on moving. But if it comes out and it's mad successful and it's everywhere and it's taking some of its user base, like I could see Nintendo start like, okay, maybe we need to look into stuff a little bit more. But that market's just so hard to get to, and I don't know if they'll be able to get to it. I just don't.
Hmm.
But that's pretty much for the show, man. I try to keep these short. That way, I don't keep Rand's a busy man. He's got to go.
I'm not that busy. I'm free today. That's when you asked me. He's like, hey, can you be on? I'm like, sure. Nothing. There's nothing going on, man.
He's
dry.
Don't let him lie to you. He's playing Halo Infinite. Don't let him lie to you.
I wish I was playing Halo Infinite. I tell you, man. I'm just waiting for an email. It was like Halo Infinite. That'll never, then you'll see a reaction GIF from me online if that ever happened. I'd be like, oh my god,
You wouldn't know what to do if yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Or like that'd be like me when I got the email about getting a Series X early from Xbox. I wanted to post something online, but I wasn't sure if I was allowed to. So
you weren't gonna risk that. No.
I was like, I don't know, that might break NDA, so I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, but I definitely appreciate you coming on. It's been a good little episode. We'll be back here next week. Definitely go check out Rand. I'm gonna put his Twitter in the description. He posts a lot of good content, man. A lot of good content. Got $2 subscription from Everborn Saga. What's good, brothers? What's good, Everborn? I was gonna hit you up to see if you wanted to come on, but I was unaware if he was busy or not. And by the time I was gonna hit you up, it was already too late. So tell me, definitely hit my DMs if you want to come on next week. I think I already know my guest next week. But where can people catch you, Rand? Besides you playing Halo Infinite in secret.
I wish. You can check me out on YouTube, youtube.com/RandallThor19. With links there to Twitter and all those excellent social media places, which I barely use social media, so you can always follow me on Twitter. I won't clog up your timeline like other people. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Talking about me. You don't.
You barely tweet you don't tweet as much. I mean, me and you tweet about the same, I think.
Yeah, I really don't tweet a whole lot.
I don't really
I tweet maybe once or twice.
We have like the same amount of tweets. You have 24,000. I have like 25,000. So.
Yeah, what's funny is IOP, because they tweet all the articles from the website. They're starting to get up there in the amount. But yeah, I definitely appreciate everyone coming by, man. Definitely go out there, check Rand, check the Xbox 2 this Friday. It's hopefully this Friday, unless
hopefully it depends.
Unless Jez gets
it's sliding.
busy.
It's sliding door. Sometimes Friday, sometimes Saturday. You never know.
Yeah, so definitely go check that out, man. Get that Psychonauts backstory, man. I'm sure he gonna have them. They'll probably talk about mayonnaise and all kinds of condiments there.
I don't want to talk about any of that stuff.
All right, man. But I definitely appreciate everyone coming by. We're going to end the podcast. We'll see you next week. But definitely show up to Sunday at 1 p.m. for the Iron Lords podcast. Right now, we only got one topic right now. There ain't really hopefully something will happen. I know it's Tuesday. Usually stuff gets announced on Monday and Tuesday, but hopefully, though, we'll get something, man. We'll wing it. Regardless, that's what we'll do. We'll wing it regardless. But we'll see you